Okay, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, they're employing, military strategies for just propagating fear, okay, into the hearts and minds of the public here, okay? How stress impacts our children. There are many things in today's world that can have an impact on a child's emotional health and ability to cope with the day-to-day life. Depending on their age, these signs can be different. When the militia comes to town, you should pack up your kids and put them in a Tupperware container.
Let's forget about the Fallujah spotlights downtown in the Bunkerville.
Hi, it's Peter.
Isn't that
Hello.
It's like
Hello? Hey, Eric, I'm live streaming right now. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Listen, we're live streaming right now at community meeting, and so far it's disgusting, especially with the literature they've handed out on how stress is impacting our children because the militia's here. Oh, please protect the children. Oh my God, what are we going to do? There's people out there wanting to enforce the Constitution. How will we save the children? Oh my God, we should take away all their guns. Well, how will we ever be able to save the children? We should disarm the whole pub. With who? Dude, that chick is a nightmare. She's a freaking, that Pepe chick is a psycho biatch, okay? Oh, gotta go. Meeting's starting, bye.
Welcome everybody, good evening. Thank you for coming out on this cold night, trying time for Harney County. And this meeting's gatherings have been called by the county court to help make some statements, get some more feedback from you, comments on what's taken up our lives the last week and a couple months ago. As we do every county court meeting, let's start with that. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
intention of the county court to hold these meetings every Monday evening until they are not necessary. We need and want to hear from our citizens. These meetings are intended to serve that purpose and for us to provide updated information to you. Besides this crowd, we are going to limit questions and input to residents of this county. We know there are varying opinions, and I would request you not interrupt others and allow those wanting to speak, allow them to speak. It's likely we will not be able to answer all questions here tonight, but we have folks here who will keep track of questions, and we will get them answered on the county website as quickly as possible. Please understand that law enforcement strategies cannot be disclosed, but understand that law enforcement has no intention to start any confrontation. Commissioner Nichols is in Salem this evening seeking funding for yet one more of the cooperative projects we in this county are known for. Even in these trying times, the members of the county court are seeking solutions to the current situation for the long-term benefit of this community. We have a few speakers tonight. We'll start with Mayor LaFollette, followed by Sheriff Ward, Representative Gibbs. Welcome to the county. I'll have some more comments myself, followed by Judge Grasky, and we'll be open for comment. Mayor LaFollette. And we do have some comments on from Dr. McBride for the school district, and she will follow up, Craig.
Good evening, welcome to Burns. Thank you to the county court. I appreciate the opportunity to share some thoughts. This past week has been stressful and unsettling for many in this community. especially those in law enforcement who have endured intimidation and threats of harm. Thank you to all of the police officers who have traveled from all over Oregon to provide assistance to our town and its people. We've had people come to our town to show support for the Hammonds. A peaceful demonstration occurred, and Burns was a platform for them to communicate their message. It's been reported that if our community does not want members of the militia here, that they would honor our request and depart. Our community does not want you here any longer. Please honor our community's wishes and depart immediately. Mr. Bundy? Mr. Bundy, this is a great opportunity for you. An opportunity that not many will have. An opportunity to answer prayer, as many in this community are praying that you will leave peacefully and soon. To all the citizens of this great community, this is a time for us to unite and to not be torn apart. The question I have frequently received from the media is in regards to the potential for things to escalate towards violence. Currently, there have not been any significant issues or violence. Let's end this stalemate peacefully, right now, before that changes and anyone gets harmed. Then we can begin to peacefully address and resolve the issues that this standoff has brought to light. Thank you, Pam.
Boo.
Dr. McBride?
Ms. Obamacare.
You know, this feels a little bit like graduation to have you all come here. So, graduating class of 2016, I'm so excited for that class. So, welcome. It's so good to have you in the building and being able to express your views and your opinions. Want to give you a real quick update, just a real short update on the schools. And definitely our kids and staff are back, and it was so wonderful to have them walk into the buildings today. I'll tell you, the excitement, the Temple of Doom, and if you haven't seen that, make sure you get out to Slater this week and take a look at that. You know, it was so fun to watch the kids go through the Temple of Doom along with some of our officers out playing recess, throwing the balls, you know, doing the hoops, and I mean, it was just cool. So it was fun to see the high school students and their socialization and how excited that they were to be back together. You know, our attendance today was 95%. Isn't that incredible? We are in lockout. That simply means all of our doors are locked. Our exterior doors are locked. It's typical for us to have all the exterior doors except for the front door. Typically, we leave the front door open. But right now, we're locking the front door. We've got a monitor there to greet you as you were to come in. And so we're just taking extra measures to ensure that our staff and our students are safe. So monitoring is going on. We also have counselors on hand in each one of our buildings. So we appreciate Symmetry Care and the mental health folks in our community. This community is just incredible. The law enforcement here has been amazing. So we have 36 counties in our wonderful state, and in one way or another, 36 counties are contributing to burns. Isn't that incredible? Yes. We have no known threat to our schools. I tell you, if I know of a threat, I will again close schools. This community, our staff, our students, that's the primary interest, paramount focus is safety for our students and our staff. Lincoln district office building, I offered that up to our law enforcement so that they could have a command center. So that Lincoln district office building is being utilized well. So many of the classrooms upstairs, the boardroom, so forth, is being utilized for meetings. Folks are using every single one of the floors there, every single space, and I am so thrilled to have them there. Yes, we had to relocate our alternative ed programs, and that, I think, is going to benefit our students as well. So everybody kind of wonders, do we have to make up these days that we have lost? Well, calculating numbers and looking at what the law says for instructional hours required. In our school district, we had more hours than was required. And in addition to that, the law allows us to have, for example, 60 additional hours for elementary children to have recess. We've never used those hours, but we might have to do that this year. Also, additional hours for parent-teacher conferences. So we're using some of that. So at this point, we are not going to have to extend our school days. Our students in our district have met the requirement of the law, which for the instructional hours. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. The volunteers that have come to our schools, such as Linda Bennett, to kind of monitor the doors because she knows everybody in the community, all of our parents, so it's just wonderful. So welcome, see you again at the 2016 graduation.
Thank you, Dr. McBride. Next, your sheriff, Dave Ward.
I really don't enjoy talking in front of groups of people. Get that out in the open. I wish I was a polished public speaker. I wish I was better at a lot of things. We've got some stuff to work through here. My goal is and has been from the beginning to find a peaceful resolution to this. We've got a lot of help here in town from agencies across the state. And while I love having them here, I'd like to see them go home.
How about the feds?
But we can't get them to go home. No, they're not going home either until we get this resolved.
They're causing the problems, Sheriff, and you know it.
Santilli, shut up.
I love you, Henry. I love you guys. You know, the fact is, there's a lot of issues that need to be worked through in this country.
Yes, sir.
There really are. And we're the folks that need to start working on it. But we don't need a bunch of negativity in our community. We don't need people wandering around worrying about what's going to happen to them. And we can't get things back to normal until we unite as a community and ask these folks to go home so we can start working together. We can't heal the wounds in our own community until we can stop being divided. And I look out here, I don't see a divided community, but I see a lot of people with concerns and questions, and I want to get answers for them. I wish to God I had them all. I don't. But I'm working with a good group of people, and we're going to get this resolved. What I need from this community is the same loving, positive community that we've all grown to love and want to raise our families in to work through these issues. I would like to ask these folks to go home and let's work through this peacefully. I don't want to stand up here and talk about an investigation that's going on. I don't want to put details out there. But the fact is that there is an hourglass and it's running and time's gonna run out. So we need to work through this sooner than later. Please go home. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Next, Representative Cliff Mintz.
Like Bob Dole said when I saw him at the World War II Memorial, never had this many people turn out at any of my campaign events. So, Dennis Richardson, state representative, now ran unsuccessful candidate for governor, and currently a candidate for Secretary of State, would say on the floor of the Oregon House on occasion, we've reached a defining moment. A defining moment. So Harney County, you've reached a defining moment. It's interesting, my family now has been here in this county for almost exactly 100 years. My grandfather came up from Texas with Swift Company when Swift Company bought a big chunk of the refuge from the P Ranch, French Glen Company. A note I just said, the Swift Company bought a big chunk of the P Ranch. Grandpa came up here in 1916 with them. 1938, the Swift Company sold that part of the refuge to the federal government. The federal government didn't steal it. They bought it. That would So it's odd now that I've been in Malheur County for 38 years. 30 years a lawyer, 8 years a politician. My dad said he couldn't live down the first one, and now the second. The truth of it is, though, I've learned years ago, before I grew up, that the law was one of the most important things we out here in this part of the world could hew to. That's why I went to law school. And this county helped put me through law school with the value of a cow. And so today, I bring to you the value that education gave me, that many of you here in Harney County contributed to one way or another. We are a nation of laws, and we are a county of laws. And by God, we better follow. Today, I had my assistant in Salem do some research. He just went to work for me this morning because we have legislative days over the next, or this week, and then we start our legislative session February 1st. So I had him check and try to run down a list of the laws that are currently being broken by the folks out on the refuge. The Privacy Act of 1974 prohibits disclosure of personally identified information in public records, trespass federal, trespass state, unauthorized removal of material from public lands, tampering, vandalism, harassment, obstruction, theft, embezzlement, purloin, steal.
What about the Constitution?
Incorrect occupation.
I have
A long list of extraordinarily unfortunate.
I have a First Amendment right to speak. Respect that.
Bullshit.
Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're all part of the same group.
It is?
Yes,
For what?
for disrupting this meeting.
Certainly not disrupting.
Yes, you are.
Well, it wasn't intended to disrupt. I was actually going to just go back to the media area. Not intended to disrupt, and I'm going to come back to the media area.
Okay.
Okay? I'll leave if you want me to.
I want you to leave.
Okay. I'll leave.
Why you got escorted him out? Can you tell me? Can you tell me why you escorted him out?
So I'm being escorted out for disruption.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I have a First Amendment right
Okay.
to speak.
All right, Pete, I
Okay.
appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you.
Yes. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Why he was escorted out?
Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? That representative, okay, unfortunately, did not mention anything about the constitutional violations that existed. And I actually got up because I find that intolerable that this meeting is even taking place in this fashion. You know what? Somebody else is going to have to speak out about the constitutional issues and stream at the same time. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to go into a meeting like this and keep my mouth shut about constitutional issues, okay? Now, I've just been asked, I was going to go back to the media area, okay? But I've been asked to leave because I was disrupting the meeting, okay? So, I have a First Amendment right. That right, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. I've been asked to depart the meeting because it was disruptive, okay? What I found that meeting excluded the most important part, okay? And this meeting, first of all, is stacked with supporters of these unconstitutional legislators. We actually have, ladies and gentlemen, you ready? You want to hear this? I didn't even get a chance to ask the sheriff. I'm going to tell you something right now, okay? And this is going to go out to the FBI trailer. It'll go to the people that are paying attention to my words. The sheriff himself in 1999 was a BLM agent. I'm not allowed to ask those questions about the fact that the sheriff himself testified against the Hammonds as a BLM agent. He was witness number 11. Hey, Eric, how are you? Oh, it is Brandon. How are you? Yeah. No. Law enforcement are doing what? Yes. No, okay. You know what? Can I put you on speakerphone? I need to let this go out on the stream because I'm going to have a word. I was just asked to leave the meeting. Okay, dude, seriously, I cannot tolerate this crap because there's nobody in that room speaking to members of the public, and I'm not going to let them propagandize with the people on my stream. I'm not going to allow that to happen without them going. Go ahead. Hold on one second. I'm going to put you on speaker. Okay. Yes, that's correct, and also the fact that there's no known threat. But if there is a threat, I can't do this. I cannot do this. No, I'm not going to. You know what? Here's the deal, Brandon. Let me just. I'm going to call you after I speak to my listeners and viewers, everyone that's sitting at home. Okay, hold on. All right, do me a favor. Can you hold this? I need to have a word, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the word. Okay. First of all, the sheriff himself, yeah, we'll do that. So I'll get better lighting. I'm going to inform the public, okay? The sheriff that got up there, okay, failed to disclose the following. And if he can't be addressed by the press, I have a First Amendment right that has been suppressed. We already know how unconstitutional they are. I was compliant. Did you notice that? Deb?
Hello.
I was compliant,
Yes.
okay? They just violated my First Amendment right to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to address the following issue, okay? The the sheriff himself, okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
in 1999, you ready?
He said he just had to address somebody, the
Okay.
his audience. That was,
In 1999, I'm going to read this to you. He was witness number 11. He was a BLM agent, a BLM rangeland specialist. His name was David Ward, okay? Before September 30th, 1999, Sheriff Ward worked with Stephen and Dwight Hammond in Section 15 and 16 with the intent to do a cooperative prescribed burn after preparing a plan and doing an environmental study. Ward thought a burn would improve the range conditions. Ward had not been provided notice that Stephen and Dwight Hammond intended to do a controlled burn on Sunday, September 30th, 2001. Ward learned of the burn on September 30th, 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why this sheriff has failed and refused to address those grievances, this sheriff right here in this county, is because he worked for the BLM and testified against the Hammonds. This is a fact. It's in the court docket. I read the court documents before I came over here. This man is demonizing those individuals that want to hold him accountable, want to bring public disclosure to this stuff. The reason why he doesn't want it publicly disclosed in a meeting like this is because he testified against the Hammonds. And I'm not going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not. This next guy, a so-called representative, speaks of the violations of acts, statutes, codes, and regulations, okay? And this representative excluded one very important part, and that was the fact that the reason why they're there is because of the violations of the U.S. Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, that they're enforcing the U.S. Constitution as it relates to Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. And guess what I said? I said, how about the U.S. Constitution? Did you hear what I said on the stream?
no,
I
couldn't
was
hear it. had
I
it
was
down.
booed, Brandon, because I said, what about constitutional law? Something to that effect. And I was booed by this crowd because I should dare bring up the U.S.
They
Constitution.
were throwing things at you.
They were throwing things at me, and I told them, you know why? You know why they were throwing things at me? Because I said I have a First Amendment right to ask whatever question I want and make whatever statement I want. They don't have to respond to
The
it.
sheriff in there said that, they hated to do that. They didn't want you to get hurt. And they said, the people were angry.
I was,
and listen, and you know
hold
what
on.
I said?
Hold on, Brandon.
I said, this isn't his first rodeo. This is just his first cowboy hat.
This is my first. Did you say that? Brandon, are you there? I was just asked to leave. First of all, I was booed when I brought up the U.S. Constitution, okay? I thought it was very appropriate because this elected representative, okay, cited and listed a whole list of violations that he has no idea. He basically presented these guys to be guilty until proven innocent of all these. He said something about trespassing, and he hasn't even been out there. He hasn't even been able to determine whether or not they were trespassing. They're convicting these souls who are inside this refuge, who walked in there and made themselves comfortable, okay? And I thought that was inappropriate. But why did they go in there to begin with? Because of Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. I will gladly get booed for mentioning the Constitution. Gladly. Any day.
Are we on live stream right now?
We are.
Okay, so I want you to know that just before that meeting that they just held, the press conference at the school, Sheriff Ward put out a public statement to the news, to the mainstream media, how the patriots in town and those who are there to stand up for the community and stand up for the safety of all indivisible laws are not welcome because they've been threatening, following, and they've seen an increase in crime in the area. Which, by the way, I want you to know, when I met with Sheriff Dave Ward the night before last, he gave me a hug and welcomed me and thank you for being there. Secondly, the first gentleman that got to spoke during your live stream made it very clear that there was no active threats or no increase in violence. So why are the speakers contradicting what the sheriff says? Is this fear-mongering?
Hold this. Yeah, repeat that last statement again.
Is this fear-mongering? They're using fear-mongering tactics.
They are.
To get a speedy, they want us out of there. The reason why they want us out of there is because we're digging and we're uncovering corruption.
That's right.
Corruption in the court. We're uncovering corruption with the judge. When I come back to the town, I'm going to have some documentation to prove that the judge is corrupt.
That's
Yes.
right. Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? I didn't even get to the judge. The judge stood up, hadn't even stood up yet. And guess what I was going to do? I was going to actually save all of my questioning for the judge. Judge, is it true that you're under investigation? You're under investigation for how you have been incentivized to put 4,000 hours into the lobbying to have the sage grouse placed on the endangered species list. This is a judge, okay? 4,000 hours he invested. Is it true that he's under investigation? That question will be revealed here in the coming days, and he needs to know this.
There's something else I need to add for the listeners out there. The other thing I need to add is you saw it last night. You were with me. How many police officers stopped by our hotel to talk to us? They talked about the family, their children, what they like to do. They thanked us for being there. We laughed. There was 5 of them at our hotel last night.
Yes.
So if that's the case, Sheriff Ward is lying. He's a liar, and he's lying. He's using fear-mongering rhetoric to turn the community because they know that we're going to uncover the truth.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the bottom line: is that you'll notice I was compliant with their unconstitutional demand for me to exit that building. I actually went back to the media area because I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to be sitting in the stands, popping off important questions for the benefit of the community. And they had stuff thrown at me. Yeah. Was that dealt with? I wonder if that was dealt with. I have no fear of such thing, but it's absolutely mind-boggling how communist. Huh?
They threw things at you.
They did.
And they weren't charged for battery or assault, which is a crime?
No, you know what? And plus, I wouldn't even file a complaint. I wanted it to be on full display for all the world to see that this community is a communist community. Okay. This is a communist community that stifles the freedom of the press. I'll tell you what, as it relates to the U.S. Constitution, when I have issues with an elected representative skipping over constitutional law and citing and convicting, he almost had a trial and a conviction in a public forum of all of these things, these so-called charges that he says that are against them. You know what? Get those charges filed, okay? And prove up. Let's go. Let's do that. What about the charges of their unconstitutional land grab? Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. And how does the community benefit by us enforcing the U.S. Constitution and giving the land back to the people? What about that?
Well, they want us to go away because if we go away, everyone can put their head back in the sand and the corruption won't be exposed.
Was a BLM agent and who testified against the Hammonds. It's a conflict of interest for him to resolve this issue before the Hammonds went to prison. The reason why they're in prison is because the sheriff failed and refused to stop and push the pause button to open up an investigation and have full disclosure. How can this man preside over a decision to address grievances? How could he do that, knowing full well that he was a BLM agent who testified against the Hammonds? How could he do that?
That's the corruption we're dealing with.
That is the highest level of corruption of any law enforcement official here on this dirt right now, okay?
And you know, they want to sit there and use fear-mongering tactics in their meetings, but how many times do we have people in the community, Pete, come up to us and thank us with tears in their eyes? How many people in the community invite us over to homes for meals, dinner, lunch? How many people in the community thank us for what we were trying to accomplish there? There's far more of those than that was sitting in that gym tonight.
Yes, there's far more of them. That's who I'm talking to right now, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what, I cannot, I need to talk to Deb. She's just so instrumental in this thing. Hey, Deb, can I talk to you just for a couple of minutes, or you just want to warm up?
No, I was warming up. I'm
Okay.
freezing to death.
All right, listen to me. I cannot tolerate unconstitutional meetings. I can't. I can't. I refuse to accept that. I was compliant. This right here, I'm going to put it on full display, that whoever gave that directive to have me escorted out of that building, okay, just committed an unconstitutional act and stifled my First Amendment freedoms of speech. Therefore, cutting off the community from hearing the disgusting, unconstitutional babble at the podium by this elected official. This guy says, well, Bob Dole told me. Bob Dole? Really? Welcome to the freaking 2016s, okay? Is Bob Dole even alive?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Isn't
He was at the
isn't-
World War II, and Ronald Reagan,
No,
believe it or
Bob
not.
Dole, Bob Dole is the guy who sat in an easy chair with a dog by him and watched Britney Spears dance.
Yeah,
when she was
exactly.
12,
Right.
When she was 12 and said, down boy, like he got a hard on watching
Yeah,
a 12-year-old
absolutely
dance.
awful.
That's
So,
Bob Dole.
so hey, Brandon, I cannot, I need to say this formally and officially. I cannot remain silent in a meeting like that. I cannot allow my U.S. Constitution to be trampled, okay, and not addressed in a meeting like this. I just can't allow it. I need to stay away from these meetings. Somebody else needs to come in and live stream, okay? Because
Well, and here's what we need to do. We need to prove the sheriff a liar. And how we're going to do that is we need to go pull the crime, the calls to service in that community of public record. We need to pull the crime stats and see if in fact there is an uptick in crime since this situation's been going on. Because I'm being told, as you were standing there with me, if there's so much crime going on since we've been there, then why are the deputies having the time to sit and talk to us 5, 6 at a time for an hour or more? And doing so in a very comfortable manner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, Brandon.
We're not going to buy into this. We're not going to buy into this.
We can't. Actually, no, there's too much at stake here, Brandon. This type of meeting, okay, is literally a psyop. It's a psyop upon the public in front of these. I'm not going to allow them to get away with what they got away with going through the stream. I'm not going to. If somebody else thinks that they can keep their mouth shut and just sit on their pocket constitution without a word in defense of it, you come and stream the thing, okay? You're a better man than I am, okay? I obviously.
What we're going to do is we're going to take the facts of the situation, which is we're going to take each thing that was said, how they contradict each other. We're going to put an official press release in the morning. You'll be the first one to get that. We're going to put an official press release out in the morning.
He's not?
Well,
I wanted to ask him the question.
Yeah, but don't you think that's kind of really strange?
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. We're getting word now. Somebody's mentioning. I wanted to ask the question. If in fact is David Ward, okay? This sheriff David Ward, is it the same guy? I wanted to ask that question. Were you a BLM agent in 1999?
Okay, you go ask that question. I'm going to call you back here in about 10 minutes, Pete.
Call me back. We need to know the answer to that question, okay?
We do.
Yep, okay. So is Sheriff David Ward that same guy that testified? Were you witness number 11? And if in fact, if you were, is that a conflict of interest? Are there other anomalies that you're being investigated for? We don't know. We need to ask these questions and ask them in front of the public. And to stifle a journalist that has serious questions, myself, okay, in front of these individuals, a disruption of what? What am I disrupting? I'm disrupting a psyop, literally. Hit the stop button. Okay, hit the stop button. There you go. Just so no video streams through. But do you understand that? Disruptive of what? Of a psyop? That was an intervention. That wasn't a disruption.
You were trying to intervene.
I was trying to intervene. What was taking place there by that elected representative in this school, ladies and gentlemen, that principal, was that a principal, Dr. So-and-so?
Yeah.
Said, well, there's no known threats, but they told me to shut the schools down and tell everyone that to be scared. Right? Isn't that what she said? She said there's no known threats, but there are people running around chasing down the sheriffs and following them. Okay, but they're not the militia. It has nothing to do with the militia. I'm being overly dramatic. But this whole thing, okay, was not a disruption, ladies and gentlemen. I would never, ever, ever want to disrupt a constitutional meeting. Certainly not. All right? And I don't expect to be interrupted. Hey, you know what? I actually wanted to find out who those haters are. The more haters you got, the more spitballs get thrown at you. I loved it. Loved it. Right? Look at that. Pete Santilli speaking out, using his First Amendment. Let's throw spitballs at him. Boy, oh boy, I wonder why we're calling this place a communist community, because we got some commies running around town that want to shut down my First Amendment. I know a bunch of constitutionalists that are sitting at home listening to this stream. They should be in here, but unfortunately they can't be in here because you know what? People like who buy hats like this for Pete Santilli, okay? Who shall remain nameless, okay?
Yes. Sir.
Who fear, they cower in fear, I say, because if they come out, they will be shut down. They will be intimidated. Disruptive of a meeting? Absolutely not disruptive. It's an intervention, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It's an intervention. These gentlemen were asked to have me escorted out, okay? So I said, I have a First Amendment right to be here. They said it's time for you to leave. Okay. I asserted my First Amendment right, did I not? Politely? I did. I asserted my First Amendment right to speak out. I have a freedom. They call it a disruption, okay? I call it a constitutional intervention. And they went ahead and asked me to leave. Okay, so guess what? I'm lawful and compliant, aren't I? You should be outraged by that. This is what's going on in this community, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the best, most beneficial reason to have an outsider that knows our constitutional rights. Because these people in that hall right there at Hollander, how's it going, man?
Hey, that Dave Ward. There's 2 Dave Wards in this town.
There is. I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah.
I found out that there was a Dave Ward BLM agent. Is that the same exact person?
No.
No. Okay. So I wanted to ask that
The
question of
sheriff,
him.
he was in the
I didn't ask that inside
He
there.
was in the National Guard.
Pardon me? Pardon me?
I said, Dave Ward used to be a member of the National Guard, but he's never worked for me.
Well, I didn't know if it was the same one. I heard that there was a Dave Ward, witness number 11. Okay, and I wanted to ask if that's the same person.
That's the BLM.
That's the BLM guy. He was.
I don't think he's even here.
There was a Dave Ward,
That used to
witness
work for
number
the
11.
BLM here, yeah.
Are you the same person? Am I allowed to ask that question in front of the public? Yes or no? It's a fair question, isn't it?
I would think so.
Is there a conflict of interest at that point?
No, because it's 2 different people.
It's 2 different people. All he would have to do is answer that. But I didn't even get a chance to answer any
Don't you
questions.
think it's kind of weird, though, that there's a David Ward who works for the BLM and a David Ward that's a sheriff and a David Ward that testified against the Hammonds? It's kind of strange, isn't it?
Depends on how you look at it, I guess.
It's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, that, I don't
Pretty
think
interesting.
that,
Certainly deserving of a question.
as far as
Okay.
I know, that David Ward, I don't even think as far as I know, he's not here.
Well, we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. Okay. That's actually the least of our concerns at this point in time. That's an important question to ask that should be answered. But by me having my First Amendment right stifled like that, guess what, folks? Exercising your freedoms of speech, okay, is not a disruption, okay? It was literally an intervention. It was an intervention. Did you get kicked out too?
No, what the hell did you say?
God forbid. I asked some
I wasn't
questions.
even in there. I was on the phone, and then they came at that
Well, you know what I said?
So much came tearing out. She's like, "Oh, I left. They kicked him out." All right.
Yep.
What'd you say?
Well, I actually had an elected representative stand before me, okay,
She
just
said they were
about
throwing
how.
trash at you.
Pardon me?
She said they were throwing shit at you.
They were throwing stuff at me. Absolutely.
shit.
Which puts their communism on full display because I have a First Amendment right to speak out, and I spoke out when that elected representative almost held a trial of these guys that are at the refuge, citing, violations of this. He was saying they're trespassing, they're going to be charged with blah, 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 blah. And he started listing those, and guess what he didn't mention? He didn't mention anything about the U.S. Constitution. Constitutional violations that have caused them to go do what they're doing.
Dude, I spent my day up talking to ranchers. You want to talk constitutional violations, sweetheart? I got some footage for you.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Shoot me an email later. I'm going to go
Hey,
back and talk to my editor.
This elected representative not
was it?
mentioning anything about the U.S. Constitution,
was
what
it?
these land issues are. I don't even know what this guy's name was. It's on the stream. But I do not want to tolerate that. This PSYOP, especially for my viewers and my listeners,
Sure.
that there's more people that are paying attention to this stream. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't going to allow that to take place and allow it to go unchecked.
Do you know what?
What?
Streamer solidarity, no matter what the fuck else happens. That's all I'm saying.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate you
Streamer
guys.
solidarity.
Listen,
All right.
I'm actually going to be taking off tomorrow. I got to go back and give a speech in New York. I'm going to be back in a week. So
Okay.
we'll see you guys then.
Hopefully things will be
talking.
resolved before
Hey,
then.
let's get out of here. Let's go.
You want to go?
Yeah, I do.
What?
Because I'm just